Well, good morning and welcome to the MAP3 Citizens Advisory Board meeting of December the 20th, 2018. Carol, do you agree that we have a quorum? Then we will call the meeting to order. Item 2 on the agenda is a consideration of the minutes. You've been furnished with copies of our previous meeting on November the 15th. Are there additions or corrections to the minutes? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes as submitted. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. You also have in your packet the revenue and expenditure report for the period ending November the 30th and the obligations and budget report as of December the 6th. David, do you want to have any comments about that?
Yes, sir. I will present these on the revenue side for the period ending November 30th, 2018. For the month, there's $8,903. For the fiscal year, there's $2,475,125, and a total on the revenue side of $826,312,077. On the expenditure side for the month, there is $10,913,733. Fiscal year, there is $56,264,896, and total expenditures of $490,919,815. Then you also have the budget and obligations report for the period ending December 6th. You can see that there is a lot of activity going on, and you can see the remaining budgets there on those projects. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer those.
Any questions regarding the revenue and expenditure report or the budget and obligation report in item 3?
Mr. Chairman, just a matter of curiosity, both the fairgrounds and Riverhead expenses of $379.
It's administrative costs.
Okay.
That are allocated.
I don't know what that was.
We spread those administrative costs out over all the projects, and that's how it picks that up.
Okay. I was just curious why the number was exactly the same. That explains it. Thanks.
Other questions?
Accept the report.
It's been moved that we accept the report. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded we accept the report. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The report is received. I want to take a moment of personal privilege here before we take up the next item to introduce Nikki Nice. Nikki is the new council person from the Heavenly 7th District. Is that right?
You could definitely say that.
And we're delighted to welcome you. She has been appointed by the mayor to fill the remaining term on as a member of our Citizens Advisory Board, and we're delighted to have her. This is her first meeting. All of you probably met her as she made a presentation at the streetcar ribbon cutting. We just want to welcome you and tell you we're very glad to have you as a part of this Citizens Advisory Board. And if you have any questions at all, well, you can ask Nathaniel. He's our expert on new people on the council. Okay.
Yes,
all right. All right, David. We are now ready for the item 4, the construction update presentation.
Yes, sir. We like to periodically update the board as to what's going on with the projects. Today we're going to look at the park, and Gavin McMillan is here from Hargraves and Associates to give you that update. So we'd like to invite Gavin up to the podium.
Welcome, Gavin.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. We gave the Park Subcommittee an update yesterday, so I'm happy to be in front of you giving you an update today. So just reporting on construction progress, the overall project is proceeding well. We had a little rain in the last quarter. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but here's a shot from the Devon Tower looking at site progress. And basically 100% of the park has some sort of construction on it now. So all areas are under work, and the biggest change in the series of photos we've been taking over the last year is, of course, you can see the convention center in high activity to the left side there. So I'm just going to go through and show you the pretty pictures that we've been showing for almost 8 years now. And slowly you can actually start to see it coming out of the ground. So this is looking down to the boulevard towards the Skydance Bridge. Here you can see the line of light poles starting to define where the promenade is going to be. In the fountain itself along Robinson Avenue, again looking towards Skydance Bridge, this massive piping is where the jets are going to be coming out of the ground, and the first one is actually up on site now. If you drive past Robinson, you can see it coming out of the ground. Sitting in the boathouse, looking overlook the lake towards Union Station. The lake has progressed quite well after some rain delays we've had. We was full of water when we didn't want it to be, and now it's dry when we want it to be full of water. So up along the boulevard now with the boulevard works in progress, we have a curb to build against, and the cafe structure is, the roof is up, and the lantern is up as well, and we're starting to see the definition of the planting around it. In the woodland area, as we look towards the playground, it's the least progressed so far, so this will be coming out of the ground in the next 2 months, a lot more. Sitting on top of the hill, looking at Union Station, we can now see the full definition of the lake, the bridge, and Union Station in the background. Turning back the other way and looking back towards the stage is almost complete, and the sodding of the lawn in front of the stage has started this week as well. Our first trees at site, we have about 150 trees on site out of the 1,000 trees we have, and that'll be progressing as we move forward. The lake has its final cover over the top of the liner, and we're just waiting to fill that up with water and then plant the wetlands as soon as spring starts. This is the intake structure that recirculates the water in the lake to keep the water clean. The cafe is progressing quite nicely. Here you can see the outdoor seating area that's under cover, and the lantern tower in the background coming up quite nicely. The children's playground is starting in earnest now. This is the climbing wall made of stone. This is going to be a lot of fun for the kids. And the shade pavilion up along Robinson towards the Skydance Bridge, our last building that has come out of the ground, now has a roof on it, and that's progressing nicely as well. So with this, over the last quarter, we have catch up on some change orders, and I want to go through those now with you. There are 8 different items on this that total up to about $104,000. So I just want to go through them quickly one by one. Item number 1 is the soffits to the play pavilion. This building is unusual in all the other buildings. It curves. And we found with the ceiling fans and the lighting and the security cameras that we have underneath the ceiling, we're having a lot of exposed wires. So we wanted to cover those up to help maintenance with and security. So it only applies to this building. So there's an item for $22,000 and change there. Item number 2 is a thickening of a retaining wall near the boathouse. It was designed as an L shape, inverted L. We want to change that to a T shape, just for additional structure near the water there. So that item is about $7,200. Item number 3 is light mast grounding. This came out of the construction progress. We don't have to do it with code, but we're providing these sculptural light masts. They have a sensitive controller for all the lighting that goes with them. So we talked to the operator, Myriad Botanic Gardens, and we thought we'll take the option to add additional protection for this control equipment. And that applies across all 29 light masts. So that value is $23,400. Item number 4 is a wet well lid. Again, talking with Myriad, the operator, we wanted to cast in a hole in top of the well so they could easily pull the pumps out in the future to make it easier to maintain. There's a $2,000 ad for that. Item number 5, Robinson Avenue. As you know, the park had the responsibility one side of Robinson, the convention center has a responsibility another. MAPS has a team now looking at the full length of Robinson, and out of that process, the work that we had that extended into Robinson is being taken out of our contract, and we'll move into another one in the future. So that's a negative of $92,000. Item number 6 is Union Station data room. So we have all our data control, security cameras, and our irrigation control comes to the east wing of the Union Station. But to get the utilities in there, we would have had to go through the wall of the Union Station, which did not make the historic preservation people very happy. So we came up with an alternate solution on the west side, basically mirror image, and there's a way to get in there without going through the walls. So that does not impact the building, but we do have to run extra conduit to get to that location. So that's the item for $47,400.
Gavin, could I interrupt you there with a question about the moving of the data room from one side of the Union Station to the other? We have an effort underway to do some additional things at Union Station.
Right.
How does this fit into that? This is part of that, or this is part of the original MAPS plan?
This is part of the original MAPS plan. So we are taking up only about 50 or 60 square foot to do this. So it's a very little area, and the area is the area that was earmarked for Myriad to take over for operation and maintenance room. So that really just basically flips. So the new team that Public Works have hired to look into this for Union Station, they're going to take this into consideration. But Myriad Botanic Gardens are happy with this switch.
Thank you.
Item number 7, one of our light poles, which is a very simple cylinder light. Unfortunately, in the manufacturer's cut sheet, the footing did not have concrete around it, which caused confusion with our contractor. We came up with a solution that basically provides a reinforced concrete footing, so they stay up in the winds that you have here in Oklahoma, as we see today. But we have 71 light poles that this impacts. So even though it's $600 a light pole, it adds up to about $42,500. And the last item, number 8, is potable water hydrants along Robinson. If you recall, we were putting in these water connections for markets that would happen inside the park, or food trucks that would park along Robinson Avenue. Working with the city inspector, we love hiding all these utilities, and we had them in the ground. The city inspector would prefer them to be above ground, so there's no possibility of cross-contamination of the water. So in doing that, in the 25 locations we have it, that's going to add $51,000 to the project. Just totaling all that up, this is our 5th change order. There's no amendment with this change order. It's just a change order, which adds up to about 0.18%. So we're still only scratching the surface of the project contingency, so we're in good shape. Last but not least, with all our wet weather days, all the MAPS contracts have wet weather days built into them, and we've exceeded them in the last 4 months. So we have about 29 days that will extend the contract date to completion to June 16th next year. So touch wood, no more rain delays. Thank you. I'll happy to answer anyone's questions.
Any questions for Gavin? Any questions? Gavin, why don't you stay there for just a moment, because I want to ask David a question. How do these, he's presented eight proposed change orders, and we have 3 on our agenda. Would you kind of reconcile how this fits in to how we consider these on our agenda?
This is the construction change order for the Upper Park. Then we have an amendment for Hargrave's contract to do some changes that the foundation has requested. So that's an architectural amendment to their contract. And then the third one is a change order for the Lower Park demolition project.
Okay, so the number I saw that matched what Gavin was telling us was the $104,000 in item 6 on our agenda.
That is correct.
Okay. Well, then let's, if there are no other questions, then why don't we take up agenda item number 5, and that's the one about the contract for the landscape architectural services.
Right. So item 5 is recommend resolution approving amendment number 6 to contract for landscape architectural services with Hargraves Associates, MAPS 3 Park, increase of $135,000, project M3-P006. As we put the operator on board, much like we've had with the fairgrounds and the Whitewater and all the projects, when we bring the operators on board, there's certain changes that are requested, and they've requested some actual changes of the building that will require architectural changes, and that's what have asked Hargraves to do so that we can get the prices from the contractor, and so that they can build it.
All right, so any questions about item number 5 on our agenda?
These are future changes or changes we've already done, and this is just the architectural work?
Future changes, they've done some preliminary work, done some preliminary sketches to get some preliminary numbers from the contractor and find out if it's feasible, and talk to the board. But these are some changes in the cafe, in the stage area. Where else, Gavin?
That's the two areas.
Yeah, the
So
two big
these changes
stages.
will become
It will become a new document, and then we'll get a change order from the contractor.
Future.
All right, further questions? Shall we approve it?
Move approval.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution as presented. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Okay, now that brings us to item 6, and this is the $104,000 total that Gavin just has explained to us. Further explanation from you about that, David?
No, sir, I think,
All right. Shall we approve this?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the change order number 5, which is item number 6 on our agenda. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. And then that brings us to item number 7, which is the demolition package for the lower park. You want to explain that?
yes, sir. Item 7 is recommended resolution approving change order number 1, MAPS 3 Lower Park Demolition Package 2, increase of $3,500, project M3-P014A. Out doing the demolition, and the contractor found 2 building slabs that were buried underground, 6 to 10 inches below ground, that we couldn't see, didn't know they were there. The $3,500 we think is a really, really good price to pull these slabs out.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Gavin, thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
I want to say a personal thank you to you and all of your colleagues at Hargraves. It's been a great year for the park, and an exciting year to come. Thank you for a great job.
We're looking forward to opening next year.
Thank you. All right, that brings us then to item number 8, I believe, isn't it, David, on the agenda?
Yes, sir. Item 8 is recommend resolution approving change order number 3 and amendment number 6, MAPS 3 Sidewalks Phase 4 Project 2 improvements, increase of $8,022.30. Project M3-W004A. Pretty much a routine item during construction. You notice that on the change order side of it, there's a time extension of 135 days, and that's because the contractor hasn't been able to work because we've been still trying to acquire some small right-of-way pieces. But then on the amendment side, it's quantity adjustments that you've seen on projects before. It's additional aggregate base, some curb, some concrete, removal of curb, just the stuff that we do.
Been moved and seconded that we approve it. I want to, David, ask you to do one more thing here.
Yes, sir.
As these move along, I want Councilman Nice to understand we're not increasing the budget or the amount we're spending. Would you give her 90 seconds of how these change orders work so that she'll feel comfortable?
Right, so the change orders that we're approving today come out of the project contingency. So each project has a contingency amount in there, and that's where we're coming up with the money. So we're not having to get program contingency money. So that's still there, and we'll talk about that on the last item of the agenda. But this is all conceivably previously approved money within the budget.
With that explanation, it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Item number 9, David?
Item 9 is recommend resolution approving change order number 18 and amendment number 17, MAPS 3 Modern Streetcar Mainline, increase of $191,629.54, project M3-S007. as we try to close out the project, these are items that come up. If you want me to hit any of the highlights, I can. A lot of these are really small amounts, just things that came up. You may have heard that we finished the streetcar, and it's open. So as we were winding up the streetcar, these are items that came up. You'll notice that there are credits on some of these items, on several of the items. But if you have any specifics, I'll try to answer those. This comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution as presented. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Item 10, David.
Item 10 is a recommended resolution waiving consultant selection procedures and approving engineering services contract with S2O Design and Engineering. MAPS 3 Whitewater Facility electrical capacitors, water filtration system improvements, and channel unistrut corrosion protection, $99,500, project M3-R009. If you will recall, the River was given additional funds to do some projects, and these are the ones that we can get out there and do right away that we think will have big impact on next year's season. The waiving consultant selection is because S2O we felt like was the best group to do this. They designed the whole facility. They have the sub-consultants that know the systems. We'll spend less time and money in going back and figuring out how things work and showing other consultants how it works, so they can pretty much just hit the ground running with the project. So this is for the electrical capacitors that we can add that we believe will reduce the electric bill considerably at the Whitewater facility because of the capacity charge that they have to carry. Then also the water filtration system improvements to get the water clarity where they want it. And then there's some concern about the unistrut, which is the metal that's cast in the bottom, about corrosion, and this is a system that will prevent that corrosion by, the word's slipping my mind. Cathodic protection is what it will be.
Oh, that's that word
So essentially the Whitewater facility starts acting like a battery, and the metal starts exchanging, and this will counteract that.
Dee, does this come with your recommendation from the...
We don't have a quorum, but it does come with a recommendation of those who are there.
All right.
Is that good?
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the resolution as presented. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is adopted. All right, item 11 is the discussion of the excess funding plan. You have a draft in front of you. And David, do you want to guide us through this?
Well, this is the same plan that you saw last month that we discussed, and we pretty much put it out there for initial understanding. It's the plan to address the additional funding that we have. I've always been asked that we present a plan instead of doing the funding piecemeal, as it were. So this is the plan that we've come up with, understanding that it also includes a potential $22 million coming out of the convention center. So this whole plan doesn't work unless that happens. But this is the plan. We believe that will happen.
Well, and this plan still has a deficit even with that in it, right?
It does.
So it doesn't work really with that.
Right. It still has a deficit. And what we've done is we pushed a decision for a fifth wellness center or more trails and sidewalks for a year, because we felt like at that time we could be better informed on MAPS 4, what might be included in a MAPS 4, whether it passes or not. Better informed with the operation of the wellness centers and how they're doing, and then also with the Better Streets and Safer City initiative that is building a lot more trails and sidewalks.
And know more about the convention center construction, where we are with extra money. coming
That's
out.
right.
It all seems very reasonable to me.
Now, help me read this, David. Where do you show the, you show more money's coming in December of next year? What is that? Show what? December of next year, $11 million total available funds. What does that represent?
That represents our confidence at that point where we can start taking that money out of the convention center. So if you'll see, there's 11, then there's 5, and then there's 6, so that adds up to the 22. So we spread that out instead of doing it all at once. Kind of, like I said, a comfort level of where the convention center is at that time.
Other comments? Michael?
So again, you've answered it basically, but the worst-case scenario, if the convention center money wasn't available, then we would forego the trails and the Fifth Wellness Center. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, I will point out what I've said on numerous occasions. My concern about this timetable is that, particularly when it comes to senior wellness centers, is that we told the voters we would build 4 or 5 senior wellness centers. And I just think it's a mistake that we are not committed, certainly for a 5th wellness center. But we're going to go to the voters for wellness center or MAPS 4 with that in mind. I think that's a mistake. It's for that reason that I'm not going to vote against it, but I'm going to abstain because I don't like the timetable, without arguing the merits of why I think the 5th Wellness Center is important. You all have heard them before. It's, again, because I think we should do what we tell the voters we were going to do.
Zane?
I'm curious how the priority was achieved, or how did we come to this priority?
Some of it was based on just how the projects are flowing, also with our staff availability. You'll see that the streetcar is moved up till February, and that's because there are some things that we would like to do, and with the active system, we'd like to get that going. The fair has some things that they'd like to get going sooner than later, and they finished their project nearly 2 years ago. So that was really the thinking. The key is, though, that $22 million and then the 5th Wellness Center and the trails and sidewalks. That's
Okay,
that works.
Just to support the senior health and wellness centers, I was just thinking that due to the success that we've seen and the importance of those, that would have come before we got to additional trails. And I know that we promised 4 trails, but we've also promised 4 or 5 health and wellness centers, and we don't know yet if MAPS 4 will include additional trails, and I understand that decision's coming later, so I'm just curious
But
why they were...
part of it is also because we're presently building 2 wellness centers right now, so
Right.
it didn't seem to make sense to add a 5th one while we're still building the other 2.
How many did we promise the voters? 4, 5, 4, or 5?
I don't know. I'll defer to Mr. Dover.
Well, I could have brought the material that was sent out before the election, but I have it at home, and it's clear. It says 4 or 5. And when we first met early on and looked at with the consultants what we think is important to include in all of the wellness centers, it came out to be they needed to be about 40,000 square feet to programming, and there just, quite frankly, just wasn't enough money to 5, and that we would wait to see where the funding was if it was available. As I've said before and again, I think it's a mistake. I think it might be a hard sell for some people on this MAPS 4 if we don't do what we said we were going to do. And in terms of the need, we are getting ready for 2 more, but we all know the reality of what's happened in Senior Wellness Center number 1 and the overwhelming success, I think that in itself kind of merits the discussion on the importance of why we need to get these in place. Many of the people who go to Wellness Center number 1 live in areas that, like near the near northwest, zip codes that are not necessarily adjacent to where that center is built because it's closest one available. I think the northeast one speaks for itself in terms of the northeast quadrant of the city. We have, as we speak, we have 3 proposals that are going to be considered for the 4th Wellness Center for the location and the partner. And they are likely to be either the far southwest city, because, again, that area and the city that I call the near northwest, kind of between 23rd and 63rd, Penn and Meridian, where it showed where still the worst health outcomes, and where the demographics show that it would support that the folks are there. So I think the fact of 4th Wellness Centers, let's say, that on the near northwest will help the problems with the overwhelming numbers using the Wellness Center number 1, Dean.
Sue?
Well, I just would like to give a little bit of my opinion about this discussion. I feel comfortable with the fact that we have delivered, and we will deliver 4 wellness centers. I'm very hopeful that we have another 1 or 2 wellness centers in MAPS 4. And I think that we are delivering the concept. We are also learning how to operate wellness centers. And the way you operate Wellness Center number 1 versus maybe Wellness Center number 4, it's going to be different. It speaks to the needs of those different areas. And I'm happy that we're learning that and we're adjusting as we're going. And we know it's taken us a little while in wellness centers, but I really applaud your committee for the hard work they've done on learning, on refocusing the bidding for the first one, and it was a challenge. This has been our biggest challenge, really, was our wellness centers, in my opinion. Certainly the streetcar is a whole new learning curve for all of us. But I think we have to be careful about our language because, in the original maps, we maybe promised X amount of trails and X amount of sidewalks. Well, in that meantime, who knew building a trail is going to cost $1 million a mile? I sure didn't know that. Given all the expenses. So, we're short, Zane, 50 miles of trails that originally we thought we would have. Well, now we've had Better Streets, Safer Cities, and we've got about $10 million in that for trails. And we're working on sidewalks. We know both of those needs are only growing, and we hope that the progress on trails and sidewalks and what we're using trail-wise in the city continues to grow. And so our committee is really interested in that. But I want us to, I'm the half-full glass person, completely optimistic. So I want our language to be positive about what we've done. And it's tremendous. We all know that. So I guess I'm throwing out the fact that we're not falling short on a delivery, because we know we will succeed and deliver 4 senior wellness centers.
Anyone else? Nathaniel?
Okay. So the list, the numbers all came from kind of the the wish list that we had a few months ago, and then you scheduled it out based off of need and also where you could fit it in. I mean, if it could be delayed, then it was delayed, and just to manage cash flow. It contemplates convention center money, but it doesn't contemplate maybe some other sources of funds, any federal grants or anything or other sources of funds for any of the projects.
That's
Is that fair to
correct.
say? Mainly because you don't know how to quantify it.
Right.
You'd have to make up a number. You wouldn't know.
There's another number out there that Mr. Adams talks about, too.
Yeah, and I'll bring that up, I guess, is that the $29 million that was projected here was interest earned through end of June or so, and so we're continuing to earn interest at the rate of over $500,000 a month. So there's already 2 or 3 more million, and likely before the project's over, be more than that. So there is some more money that we should see to make that number whittle down on that $10 million shortfalls.
Okay. And then, so the goal today, this is listed as discussion item, so there's nothing to make a motion on. It's just for informational purposes.
Right, I wanted to get direction from this group so that I could make sure that what we have is something we wanted to vote on next time.
Anyone else?
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I know for us, it's who brought up the kind of learning curve issues. So we actually, our grand opening was huge. I don't know if everybody was there, but thank you to Councilwoman Nice for being part of that as well. And the grand opening was a tremendous success. We had, incredible ridership through the weekend. And actually I saw Jason Fairbrush, writing it Friday night, and he was taking notes, and he wrote it all weekend. And so a lot of things that we learned about were just small things about making sure the voice announcement is lined up with the stops and all that. But I think a couple of items that we noticed immediately was the signal prioritization, and also the need for a truing machine, so that the machine that repairs any grinding issues on the wheels. And so those are things that I know our subcommittee is seeing as these are urgent items, just because we're in the first week of operation, and we want to really have a successful honeymoon period with the public and earn a lot of riders that are viewing it as a practical way to get around. And so there's no action to take for us today here, I see, but I think for the next meeting we'll put forward those couple of urgent items. So that'd be a fraction of, you see here us listed at the bottom with the $4 million. That would be a fraction of that, maybe about half of that amount to address mainly those 2 items. But I wanted to put that out there as something that we view as, that's been the feedback, besides just praise and applause. The one feedback for something that we want to work on is a signal prioritization.
Right.
And there's a few places where we can do that. It's not a total system change. It's a few.
Right, that's a good point. Until we accept the project as final, we'll continue to work on it, and whatever things we need to add to make it even more successful, we will.
Yeah, and that's just, some of these things you're not going to know until you turn it on and people start writing it. But I just want to applaud Jason Fairbrush and Embark for being very attentive to this real-time feedback from the user experience.
Well, to kind of review what brought us to today, at least in my mind, we asked staff to do what they've done. And we asked them to look at the excess money to take into account that we might have some money back from the convention center, to take into account the excess money, and to bring us a plan. That doesn't mean we're not voting on the plan today, and so we also said, let's go back to the subcommittees, and if they have ideas that are different or new, to bring them back. And I think what we said the last meeting was that we didn't know of any urgent items. We'd taken care of the streetcar urgent item, we'd taken care of the river urgent item, and now the others, we had more time to take a more deliberate consideration of. And so there may be, as we all go back to our subcommittees, we may find there are other things that they want us to consider, because as Mike has pointed out, there's a little bit of a deficit if we did with the money we have, even considering the convention center money. And as far as federal grants and that sort of thing, I think the only thing we can really plan on is what we know is within our control within the MAPS budget. So if there are other things, other sources of funds, but that does include what Mike has said about the interest. So all of that is within our control. But so I'm feeling really good that we have some time to think about this and that the subcommittees can come back and tell us about the urgency or non-urgency or what needs have now manifested themselves. And so the more information we have, it seems like the better it is. Obviously, David and his team want to get moving, and they're getting pressure from operators and all that sort of thing to move this along. And but I'm thinking let's just enjoy Christmas and let's plan those subcommittee meetings for next month, and let's see what if there are some changes. There was some discussion in Mike's subcommittee if we don't do 4 because we still got 2 pending, we may need more money to do some of the remaining 2. I mean, they haven't been bid yet. And so there are a lot of things for us to consider. And I'm definitely in Sue's camp on we're delivering. The original plan called for grandstand at the river. And we decided, and the council decided, we weren't going to do a grandstand because we needed the money for the Whitewater facility. I don't think anybody left here thinking that we hadn't delivered on our promise at the river, as we continue to do, because we had to make a mid-course change. I'll just remind you that this month, it was 9 years ago that the citizens voted. And when you have a plan to spend $800 million over the course of 9 years, some things are going to change. There will be inflation, and Mike and his crew tried to work that into the project, but we know that's not a perfect science either. So I'm feeling great, as Sue is, that we're substantially delivering on everything that we said we would do. And I think the taxpayers would absolutely expect us to take into account what's happened in the intervening 9 years and not just say, well, you said something 9 years ago, circumstances may have changed, but we just think it ought to be done that way anyway. And I'm saying I think they're asking us to exercise our best judgment on what is in front of us when the time comes and substantially comply with what we told them. And so I'm feeling really good about it. I hope all of you are. So with that, David, you're not asking us to vote on this today.
No, sir.
So my advice is all of us take this home. Let's read through it. Let's take it back to our subcommittees. Let's get their comments. And then let's bring that back in an orderly fashion in the new year and decide what we need to do with this excess money. This is just the greatest problem that the Citizens Advisory Board ever had. So let's not be negative about it. This is absolutely fantastic. Okay? All right. Any other comments? And you'll find that in other parts of city government. Having more money than you thought is a good thing. All right. That brings us then to new business. Any new business?
No, sir.
All right. Advisory Board subcommittee reports. Any subcommittee want to be heard in addition to what we've already heard?
I'd like to say a few words. Nikki was there, of course, and maybe Nikki will say, I won't say anything about the Langston, maybe you will. I'll let you say a few words about that. But I did want to say, again, the RFPs for the Fourth Wellness Center are in hand, and a decision, I suppose, will be made in the next 6 weeks or so, David, about which proposal we'll accept.
Yes, sir.
For the operator for the fourth and where that center will be. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I was pleased, and Nathaniel I'm sure was too, that the second wellness center and the streetcar were nominated for the Urban Land Institute's awards in the public, what is it, David? What public, the public project category?
That's close enough, yeah.
That's close enough? Okay. Well, it was really, so Nathaniel and I are actually competing against each other, I suppose. Along with, yeah, imagine that. Along with, as I recall, David, the Cleveland County Comprehensive Plan?
Yes, sir.
And so when I was thinking about that when that was done, I said, why in the world then are the streetcar and the wellness center, one wellness center competing. We've got the Cleveland County Comprehensive Plan. Why didn't the whole MAPS plan be nominated? I couldn't help but think about that since the third category. Or the third. I'm sorry? We got next year, that's true. And those awards will be given in February. So.
Great. Any other subcommittee report? Okay, that brings us to item 14 then, David's report.
Real quickly, the convention center is well under construction. I urge you to go by there. You can see it coming up out of the ground, starting to take shape. You saw what the park is doing. Had a great opening for the streetcar. Fairgrounds additional design continues right now. We have the Draper Trail under construction right now, opening in late spring of next year. Mr. Dover talked about wellness centers. So we've got a lot going on right now.
Fantastic. Any questions for David? Okay, that brings us then to item 15. Any comments by the board? Sue?
I just want to, again, tell MAP staff how much we appreciate you. And, oh my gosh, I can't imagine all of the work that you're doing right now, because I'm kind of busy with that work. And, you know, you've got all of our projects, and we know we're all going full steam. So really, we appreciate you so much. Thank you. And ADG, of course, you're in there too. Thank you.
Nikki?
Thank you. I do want to mention, as Mr. Dover was talking about, we did have a Wellness Center number 3 community meeting held on Tuesday, and we had a pretty well attended meeting. Now, I will say to Mr. Dover's point, obviously the community is curious about what is to come, but to Ms. Susan's point, they are also optimistic about what can take place for Wellness Center number 3. And what I'm hoping to do, and I hate to put you on the spot, Mr. Todd, is to see how maybe we can construct a tour for the first 2 wellness centers for the community of the Northeast area that will actually be able to benefit from Wellness Center number 3, or those residents, so they can understand how different they are and how much input they can have to make sure that this one will be conducive for the community that will actually use it. So hopefully we can work and figure out how we can do that before the meeting that they have on January 23rd. But other than that, there were a lot of questions, and I believe everyone in the community is excited about what can come for that Wellness Center number 3. So I'm excited, and I know I'm hoping we can get it done sooner than later, because it is a senior wellness center, so we want our seniors to be able to benefit from it before they go to glory.
Amen to that. Yeah, maybe we should step up the pace here a little for me.
I hate to be blunt about it, but I mean, unfortunately, we've had the conversation for a couple of years. They had one conversation a couple years ago, and I know when they had that, they had surveys done, and unfortunately, I'm pretty sure a few people may have perished and left us after they were able to give their input. So now we have to start the whole conversation again, and it's time for us to have a plan implemented and something constructed for Wellness Center number 3.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'd just like to say, I think it's been another successful year, and I've enjoyed working with everybody, and I appreciate everything, and wish everybody Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
That's just great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, one last thing from me. I know that you noted at the dedication of the ribbon cutting for the streetcar that there were many references to the fact that this is the silver anniversary, the 25th year of MAPS. While it's 9 years for all of us. Together it's 25 years for the program. And in recognition of that, I've been asked to write a short op-ed piece, and with the wonderful help of Katie Gustafson, who is not here today, but she's, as you know, worked for the Gooden Group and has been a big part of this team and seldom recognized for the efforts that she puts in for our events and for the communication effort that Christy leads. So anyway, it should be coming out in a few days, and so look for it. And one of the things that it does recognize is what Sue has already said, that we have a great staff. This has been an effort where there have been some changes during the course of our endeavors, but for the main part, it's been a core group of people who have been doing this for 9 years, and that's a long volunteer job, and it's a long job to do even if you're getting paid to do it. And I say thank you to all the ladies in front of us and to Mark and to the whole team that's sitting out there that really has made this all happen for all of us, and to Mike Mize and ADG as well. It is simply said, this is a huge project that's important in the history of our city, and it's going to have an impact for decades to come. And while we have disagreed, and I think that's what the plan was, to put people on here who would see things differently. And while we have disagreed a fair number of times over things, I think we've always disagreed agreeably, and we've tried hard to give it our best effort. And I'm satisfied that we have, and that we are delivering on the promises that were made to the taxpayers and do in great measure for you guys. And I thank you for all the hard work that you put in. And like Mike, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday. And then, doggone it, let's get back to work in January. There could be a little pay raise for you. Well,
Along those lines, I had somebody ask me this morning how much we got paid to participate in a MAPS advisory board status, and I said, man, this is totally public service. I don't get paid anything for being on this committee, and have it for the last 10 years, and I enjoy it. So there are people out there that do believe that we're getting paid, which is incorrect.
Not getting a chance.
I think I do mention in this op-ed piece that it's a volunteer effort on our part, maybe not making it clear enough. Anyway, that leads us then to an opportunity for staff. Carol, you want to tell us that we're doing okay today? Okay, great. And then are there citizens here that want to be heard? Jeff. One of the things, as Jeff comes up, Jeff is a member of the subcommittee for the streetcar, and I'll just mention for your purposes that we always open it at the end of the meeting for citizens who come, and they have 3 minutes to make a point that they want to make, and we always welcome them. So, Jeff, you're welcome.
Well, I just wanted to thank everyone for an outstanding grand opening for the streetcar. Thank you all for coming. It's been a long process with incredible amount of input from the public, and I just wanted to reiterate a few things that Nathaniel said, which is that we're aggressively trying to take in public opinion, feedback. Embark is working through kinks and issues to perfect the system. And then to echo Mike's comments, regarding the signal priority, which will be coming up hopefully in the next meeting for approval from a financial standpoint, that's something that we promised in the original campaign that we would do, and I think some of us felt like we were doing it, and we might have misunderstood, and so we did it in a limited form in the original program, and so you should have hopefully a change order coming to you from staff that will essentially allow us to do the remaining 21 signals so that we can take the success that we've seen over the weekend and make sure that it's continued and the streetcar operates properly in the coming months. I mean, downtown's evolving. There's a lot of buildings being built. densification's occurring. I've never seen this many pedestrians downtown. I mean, Debbie Blackburn was saying it reminds her of downtown, pictures that she'd seen of downtown in the 50s. It's fantastic. So that change order will be coming, hopefully, for the 21 signals. And the only other thing I'd say is that I've been encouraged to help try to organize some opinion about what the expansion might look like if we're going to do it in MAPS 4, at least if it's going to be considered. So we're talking about Capitol Hill, going to Health Science Center in the northeast side, and with the BRT proposal that's been approved by the federal grant, transit in this past year has really amazingly jumped ahead by leaps and bounds and will benefit our city very broadly. So the subcommittee will continue working for you until we feel the process is ended and we leave the project in a good place. But thank you for your support over the past 10 years, quite frankly. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate the time and effort you've put into it as a volunteer on the subcommittee, and it certainly has been noticed, and we appreciate the work you've done. Thank you. Anything else? Well, Nathaniel moved that we adjourn, and Mike Dover seconded it. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We're adjourned.